This is Jonathan O, your Fearful Pro Boxing fans, joined by Queensberry's Sahni, ahead of Joyce against Zhang this Saturday. They have fireworks in the main event.
Fireworks in the main event. I mean, it's got that big fight feel, right? We had grand arrivals last night. We got the workout here today at Marnie Swindle's gym of Apprentice fame. This fight for me is it's the best heavyweight fight scheduled. There's no doubt about that because there's not really any others. But I think even taking into account any that have happened this year, it's still number one for me. You've got 2 Olympic silver medalists, 2 absolute lumps. How often do you get Joe Joyce looking someone square in the eye, right? How often does Zhilei Zhang have to look someone square in the eye? Not very often. So they're about the same size. And I think you're just guaranteed a war in there. And I think it ends in a knockout. I think it has to. I mean, Joe Joyce has got to be careful though, right? I mean, because Zhilei Zhang can bang, especially for the first few rounds. That's the general feeling, right? This is a guy who's dangerous early and then maybe gasses late, right? And Joe Joyce maybe starts a little bit slow and then starts juggernauting people late into fights or mid-rounds onwards. So it's a real challenge. Those first 4 rounds, I was speaking to Adam Morley earlier. He says he'll be glad when the sign gets held up and says round 5, because that means you can't sort of survive the first 4.
So, I mean, is there some nerves in the Queensberry office this week? I mean, people be saying there's only so many times you can take these big shots. Is this the fight where possibly you might have to get off the floor?
Look, if Zhilei Zhang lands flush on Joe Joyce, that will be the hardest for me, in my opinion. That's the hardest he'd have been hit as a professional. Daniel Dubois never really landed flush, never landed his Sunday punch on him. If Zhilei Zhang lands that backhand, as he's been laying other people out with, then Joe Joyce could be in trouble. I mean, any normal man would be in trouble. Most normal men would be asleep. So at some point, we're looking at Joe Joyce now. By the way, he's in tremendous shape. I was speaking to Larry Wade. You saw that conversation. He's going to definitely come in line.
Couldn't believe it when he met you.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. I mean, look, he looks lean. I saw a few abs poking out there as well. So Joe Joyce is clearly going to be a bit faster in this fight as well. So a faster Joyce, a faster start, and maybe he gets Zhang out of there early. Who knows? I mean, we'll find out Saturday.
He's actually got a 6-pack as well. I don't know if that's the first time he's actually had a full-on 6-pack. But
I'll tell you, he used to. He used to in the amateur days and his early days as a pro. Those abs were there, and he just got thicker and thicker, and culminating in a career heavy against Joe Parker. But he's a little bit lighter now, and you can see it. And I wonder how it affects him. Does it affect his durability, his punch resistance? Who knows?
I mean, risky fight. If he wins on Saturday, as most people expect, who would you like to see him fight next?
For me, I think he's the biggest threat to Tyson Fury, and I want to see Joe Joyce against Tyson Fury. I just want to see that fight. Don't know what Tyson's doing, but for me, that is a fight. I know I'll get stick for this. That's a fight between the 2 best heavyweights in the world, because I'd pick those heavyweights over all the other heavyweights. It's kind of where I am with it. I think Usyk's the next guy, but they're both too big for him, and they know how to fight as big men. So I'm keen to see Fury Joyce. I'd love to see Joyce against Joshua. Can't see it happening. But yeah, look, maybe you end up in a place where Daniel Dubois chins Oleksandr Usyk and gives Joyce a shot at 3 of the 4 belts. Who knows? Big rematch.
Just want to stick with Joshua. Obviously, we're hearing December. He's going to come back. Joyce said, I think to IFL yesterday, that he feels that Joshua and Hearn are cashing out. They're taking this fight in December rather than going the August fight that they mentioned. Do you agree with him?
It's their business, but it does seem strange, right? Because you can only go by what you hear and what you're told. Everything we heard, everything we were told was, we need activity. We need activity for Anthony Joshua to be with his trainer, to learn more after the fight, and even before the fight. He'll have this one, then he'll be out in the summer, and then one before the end of the year. So everyone's sort of a little bit taken aback. Look, and it's a testament to the star that Anthony Joshua is. Just him putting up a little post saying, I'm fighting in December, everyone's like, oh, lost their minds about it, which is quite amusing. But look, the cash out element, I see that. Because if he's being promised a huge fight at the end of December, or in December, he could jeopardise it by taking a fight before that. And maybe there's too many risky fights out there. Not only is it a heavyweight division where anyone can, knock anyone out, but maybe he's more susceptible now than he's ever been to just getting knocked out, and maybe it's a concern from the team. So just save it and perhaps cash out at the end of the year. But I don't think they're ever serious about Joe Joyce, really. It's not. I'd be very surprised if that fight ever happened, to be honest. But he's on his list apparently, so let's see.
Tell me about Daniel Dubois against Usyk. Obviously, it hasn't been announced yet. That's a fight. Seems like it's going to happen. I spoke to Shane McGuigan last week, and he said it's a no-brainer to take this fight at this time. And he was saying about the improvements Daniel's made in things. So obviously, improvements Daniel's made. Obviously, you're going to back Daniel to win that fight. Why should he take this fight now, when people are saying online, well, he's not ready for Usyk?
So what? I mean, if you lived your life by what people online were telling you can and can't do, you'd have a very rubbish life, right? You don't live your life like that if you're going anywhere in your life. That's just a message to everyone, but in particular to Daniel Dubois, who is 25 years old, 10 years younger than Oleksandr Usyk, who has boxed as a heavyweight for his entire career. Usyk hasn't. So he's a younger guy, a bigger guy. He's a knockout artist. He can hit very, very hard. And if he lands, again, we talk about this, if he lands his Sunday punch on Oleksandr Usyk will know about it. I don't think Joshua ever tagged Usyk with his best one, right? Maybe he was a bit worried about what was coming back. The way Daniel Dubois fights, you would think that after the Joyce fight he would change how he fights, right? And be maybe even gun shy, but he's not. He's as fearless and as reckless as ever, and at times reckless. I'm sure Shane will keep an eye on him, but he's got a chance in that fight. He's a bigger guy, he's a younger guy, and he's a stronger guy. Why should you take the fight? Because you have got a shot at 3 of the 4 belts. Why would you not take the fight?
Fair enough. I mean, just want to move on. Tommy Fury, we saw a rather entertaining video with him and Eddie Hall. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
It's worth a watch. Anyway, he said he's put on almost 3 stone in weight since the Jake Paul fight. You were there, obviously. Deserved, I'd say.
It's deserved. Go and live your life. Go and chill with Eddie Hall. Go and eat whatever he's eating to get the free. I think they switched diets, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right. So he's put on 3 stone, not just because he's been sitting on the couch, because he switched diets. Yeah. Look, he's a young man. I think he's 23. He still says he has the aspirations to go all the way in boxing. He could still do that. He can still pursue all of that, but he's going to get a lot of offers to do cool stuff like this now, which he can make money from. And while you're young, do it. Make as much money as you can. Take all the offers that you can, and enjoy your life. He worked very, very hard for the camp for Jake Paul. He went through a lot in camp. He went through a lot, in the ring, and the spotlight was on him more than ever for that fight. And think about mentally where he would have been. People calling him names on the street, people in his DMs calling him all sorts because they thought he'd pulled out, because they thought he was ducking Jake Paul. He had all of that heading into it, and now this whole thing must be a big period of kind of a release for him. So let him enjoy his life.
Final question, Dev. Obviously, we're not getting Fury Usyk at this point, but there's been Bob Arum said that potentially Andy Ruiz is an option. What do you think? You hearing anything?
Only that. So I haven't heard anything other than Bob Arum doing interviews saying that. I think it's a good fight, right? I think it's a great fight, actually. You've got the best heavyweight in the world against the man who is a former unified champion, who is famous for dethroning Anthony Joshua and becoming Mexico's first world heavyweight champion. And I think it's one of the biggest and best fights that can be made in the heavyweight division. So if it does happen, great. I'm here for it.
Dev, appreciate your time. Obviously, you got the presser tomorrow, weigh-in, and fight night Saturday. So a few more days for you to stir it on Twitter. We look forward to that, and enjoy, before we finish, emceeing in Italy. How did that come about?
Just mad, mate. Life's just mad. I'm in the mindset now where I just sort of say yes to opportunities, right? Because you don't know, it could lead to something amazing, or I just don't want to turn any opportunities down, really. And I had the opportunity to do a bit of ring announcing randomly in Italy. I was like, yeah, why not? And it was a bit weird. It was a bit different, a bit wild. Like, I had to read out the WBC scorecards during the fight after 4 rounds. They're like, oh, can you read this out? And it was like, is that not going to put them off? Like how'd you do that? But yeah, I had to do that. It was good fun. Good fun.
There you have it. Dev, appreciate it. Enjoy fight night.